Who was Jack the Ripper? More than 130 years later, he remains one of the most infamous and mysterious killers in history. The story begins in 1888 in the Whitechapel district of London, a crowded and impoverished area filled with narrow streets, dark alleyways, and extreme poverty. It was here that a series of brutal murders would shock Victorian England and create a mystery that has never been solved. The victims were women, most of whom lived difficult lives, in one of London's poorest neighbourhoods. In late August 1888, the body of Mary Ann Nichols was discovered in the early hours of the morning. At first, many believed it was an isolated crime, but only days later, another victim, Annie Chapman, was found murdered under similarly horrific circumstances. Fear quickly spread throughout Whitechapel as residents realized a dangerous killer was stalking the streets. As the murders continued, panic gripped the city. Elizabeth Stride and Catherine Eddowes were killed on the same night, an event that became known as the Double Event. Just weeks later, Mary Jane Kelly was murdered in what many investigators consider the most brutal crime attributed to Jack the Ripper. Newspapers covered every detail, and the public became obsessed with the case. Reports of suspicious figures, strange noises, and possible sightings flooded police stations across London. What made the mystery even more disturbing was that the killer seemed able to disappear without a trace. Despite a massive police investigation, increased patrols, and countless interviews, authorities failed to identify a suspect. Witness descriptions often conflicted with one another, and physical evidence was extremely limited by modern standards. The streets of Whitechapel became a place of fear, where people avoided walking alone after dark. Adding to the mystery were a series of letters supposedly sent by the killer to newspapers and police. One letter contained the now famous signature, Jack the Ripper, a name that would become known around the world. Whether the letters were truly written by the murderer remains uncertain, but they fueled public fascination and intensified fear throughout London. Over the decades, hundreds of theories have emerged. Some believed the killer was a local butcher familiar with anatomy. Others suspected a doctor, a member of the aristocracy, or even someone connected to the royal family. More than a century of investigations, books, documentaries, and forensic studies have failed to provide a definitive answer. Numerous suspects have been proposed, but none have been conclusively linked to the crimes. Today, the Jack the Ripper case remains one of history's greatest unsolved mysteries. The identity of the killer has never been proven, and many questions remain unanswered. What is known is that a series of murders in the dark streets of Victorian London created a legend that continues to fascinate people around the world. More than 130 years later, Jack the Ripper remains a symbol of mystery, fear, and one of the most famous criminal investigations in history.